Bendición, bendición. Iburu, iboya. To all my awoses out there. So I want to do a video on what makes Cuban Ifá, not Isheshe Lagba Ifá. I can't speak on Isheshe Lagba Ifá. What makes Cuban Ifá, this one aspect, because Ifá is extremely unique and has many differences than Ocha does. There's Ocha and there's Ifá. Some are going to say they're the same thing. Some are going to say that Ocha came from Ifá. Everything stems from Ifá. And some are going to say that they are two different things, but they complement each other and that they need each other and they both serve their purpose within the Ocha room and within their respective disciplines as spiritualities, as two different cults. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying I want to speak about one aspect of Cuban Ifá that is very unique. And it's not what you're thinking. What makes Cuban Ifá extremely unique is that the what's the word? You have the founders of Ifá. There's only a handful. There are people that were definitely involved. You have Atanda, you have ¿cómo se dice? Yo Juan el Cojo Añabí, Yo Filomeno Garcia Atanda. But the main guy, the face of Cuban Ifá is Adechina. Full name, Nyo Remigio Herrera Chango Adechina. Awo Omoodun Obaramei. Se llama Ifarola. He's the face of Cuban Ifá. Now, the face of Ocha, of Havana Ocha, because most of us are Havana, because the face of Matanzas Ifá, Ocha is Monserrate, but the face of Havana Ocha is Efuche. Full name, Nya Rosalia Gramoso Abreu, Nya Rosalia Gramosa Abreu Efuche Ochosi Warikondo, or some say Obatala Warikondo. And you have La Tua, you have Obadibey. And then you have the other founders, you Nyabelen Gonzalez, Apoto Chunlaibo, Nacabildos and whatnot, Nya Teresita Ariosa and whatnot. But the face of Havana Ocha is one woman. No disrespect to any of the other wonderful people, because my lineage is not Efuche. Mine is Nyabelen Gonzalez, Apoto Chunlaibo. But when you think Ifá, you think of Adechina. Now let's get into the point of the video, because now I'm just ranting, like always. Adechina had I want to say he had 5 main disciples. One of them being a man by the name of Eulogio Rodriguez Tata Gaitan. I can't remember his, Juani Boca? I don't know. I can't remember what his sign is. Because a lot of awoses, babalaos, oluos, whatever you want to call them, without getting into the nitty gritty of what the difference between babalao versus olu and all that, a lot of babalaos are known by their sign of Ifá. I can't remember which one, Tata Gaitans. What makes Ifá especially unique is that Adechina, he did not write anything, but his disciples, Tata Gaitan, the disciples, Ramon Febles, they did write, and they wrote a lot. They wrote the Dice Ifá books that we know today. And they exist today. As far as I know, there's only 2 originals that exist, and they were written within the first and or second decade of the 1900s. So we're talking between 1900 and 1920. Ramon Febles, who I can't remember his odum. He's a lineage unto himself. And Tata Gaitan. They wrote everything that they knew about Ifá. They wrote the Dice Ifá encyclopedias, the volumes. I think Ramon Febles, he wrote like 2 volumes of Dice Ifá. And Tata Gaitan, he wrote books as well. And they have tratados, and they wrote books. Why is that impressive to me? And the point of this video. Because how amazing and incredible, when you think about it, the founder of Ifá, of Cuban Ifá, the main founder, Adebi as well. Because Adebi consecrated Adechina's Iquines, it's a whole historical thing. But Adechina is the face of Ifá. His disciples that learned from the founder of Ifá wrote books and the prayers and the meanings of each Odu and the bosses and the adimuses and the patakis and everything associated with 256 Odu. And we have that information. Adechina died in 1905. Let's bring it to Ocha. The founder of Ocha Fuche, the famous Latuan, Timotea Albayar, Chango Ajaileu, Latua. We have Obadimei. We have the different founders of Ifá. None of them wrote nothing. The closest thing that I can think of as of right now in making this video is a man by the name of Nicholas Angarica, who many believe was made to Chango, but Willie Ramos says he was actually made to, Agayu, many would say he was made to Agayu, but then Willie Ramos says that he was made to Chango, or at least was Agayu Oro, Chango Oro Agayu, Nicholas Angarica, okay? One of two main disciples of Obadimei, who was hanging out with Latua, who was hanging out with Efuche. Efuche died around 1903. Latuan died in 1935. Obadimei died in 1944, the same year that Tata Gaitan died after dancing the Mask of Olokun, 1944. Ain't nobody write shit, okay? The first person crowned, Josefa Echubi, Josefa Herrera Echubi, the daughter of Adechina. She didn't write nothing. That was 1864. And Efuche, we're talking about people around 1870s, and then she died in 1903, ain't right shit. Latuan, hanging out in the 1860s, 1870s, died 1935, ain't right shit. Obadimei, he ain't right shit. The first person that I could think of was Nicholas Angarica. He wrote one book, a very famous book called the Oriate Manual. Manuel Oriate, I think it was Oriate Manual, Manuel Oriate, I believe that's what it's called. He came out with that book, I believe 2 years after his padrino, his mentor, died, Obadimei. Now, the book is controversial. It is considered, I believe it's considered the first book on Ocha from an actual initiate. There were other books by other people that were not initiated. I believe people like their name escapes me. Pierre Verger, I believe, ethnographers, people like Lydia Cabrera, but Lydia Cabrera, her book didn't come out until like 1954, and her interviews were around between 1950 and 1954, around there. But Nicholas Angarica, he was made to Chango or Agayu, whichever one. He was made in 1942, and he had 2 years with his mentor Obadimei. And 2 years after his mentor died, so 45, 46, 1946, he comes out with the book, an Oriate's Manual. So it's arguable how much could he have learned when his mentor died 2 years. Like, being an Oriate is a big deal. So he was claiming to be an Oriate 4 years after his own mentor died. You take with that what you will. So that's one of the reasons why the book is considered controversial, because it's not seen as completely accurate. But I digress. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to say that none of the founders of Ocha, none of the women, not even the one man who was present, Obadimei, who was buddy with Latuan, Not even Jose Urquiola Pate de Palo el Guaychubi, who was hanging out with Latuan and Efuche, and he made Aurora Lamar. None of those people, prior to the death of Obadi May, ever wrote shit. Maybe things that were maybe on scrolled little pieces of paper, but I mean like published. And like someone sitting down, like Tata Gaitan, like Ramon Febles, and their contemporaries like Pedro Arango. They wasn't doing that. And so much, basically up until 1946, all the information was oral. How incredible would it have been if Latuan, who knew how to read and write, and she was proud of her literary skills, how incredible would it have been if Latuan sat down with Efuche, or at least recalled everything she learned from her mentor, Efuche, and all those women that had been dead. Nia Belén González Apoto Chulaibo, Nia Teresita Ariosa, ¿cómo se dice? Montserrate. Who else? Fermina Gomez. I know there was, the split between Havana and, and even on the Matanza side, Fermina Gomez, she ain't write shit. How incredible would it have been if Fermina Gomez sat down? Maybe she couldn't read and write. I don't know. How incredible would it have been if she sat down and she had a typist and they wrote a book and they said, these are my experiences with my Montserrate, and these are the procedures to crown someone. These are the procedures of Odu. If not revealing the secrets of the Ocha room, but saying this Odu means this. How incredible would it have been if Obadi May, if Latuan, if Efuche, if those women from the 1860s, if even Obadi May, if Patapalo, the men that were around with the women, they didn't write shit, dude. But the disciples of Adechina, they said, you know what? There is so much information on Ifá. And they had no idea that Ifá would be as big as it is today, and Ocha would be as big as it is today, and the amount of just popularity it has, how much it's blown up. Ocha is all over the world. I don't think that they knew just how big Ocha Ifá would be today. And I don't think that they knew just how much bullshit and sancocho and depravity and greed there would be today. I don't think they ever thought that Ocha would leave Cuba. Hell no. But for some reason, Tata Gaitan, Ramon Febles, Pedro Arango, they definitely Pedro Arango. I don't even know if he made Ifá, but Tata Gaitan and Ramon Febles, two extremely respected awoses that learned with Adechina himself in person, with Olugere himself. Adebi, I don't know if they would have met Adebi, but there were definitely other Babalaos. They met and knew in person the founder of Cuban Ifá, and they sat down and they typed out and transcribed the knowledge that they had in their head, learned from the founder of Ifá. And that's something that Ocha does not have, and that's something that Ocha will never have and can never have because everybody is dead. But these men, basically 100 years ago, had the desire to write down everything. And now, literally 100 years later, the information that these men, Tata Gaitan's been dead since 1944. Ramon Febles, he died, I believe, 1927-ish. They've been dead for years. But what they knew is on paper. And paper is a powerful thing. That's why, It's a whole video unto itself where Ocha is extremely difficult to defend because we do not have scripture that is written down. We do not have a holy book that is written down. So that's one of what I believe to be one of the drawbacks of being a part of Ocha or Ifá, because unlike Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, when you become a part of this tradition, there ain't no books to turn to that's like the scripture. No, but you got to ask some old person or ask somebody who knows, and you keep gathering up information. Oh, in this Odu, in Odu Obara, he who knows does not die like he who does not know. And you just got to keep doing that with all these little bits of information, and it's not in one central location. The only central location are the living human beings that memorize all this stuff. So that's a whole topic unto itself. But my point is, how incredible would it have been if Efuche, the founder, did not just do things orally, but wrote things down. And if she didn't know how to write, then she would have said to Latuan, because we're talking about rich women. The babalaos of the old days, they were rich, wealthy elites. Efuche, a rich, wealthy elite. They were prominent women. Mamonserrate, they were, even if they were rich, Efuche, she was rich. That's why they were called La Rama Millonarios. Mamonserrate, she lived in the monte. I don't know whether she was successful or not financially, but she was very, very respected. I wish Efuche took Latuan and said, yo, I need you to dictate everything I'm going to say word for word. We're going to go through all of the Odu. And how incredible would it have been to have the words of Efuche? Okay, this is why we're going to have the Elekes. These are the primary colors. These are the four primary colors, the four primary Orisha. Let me go down the exact protocols of giving out necklaces. Let me give the exact protocols of the songs that are sung in the Ocha room, the songs that are sung during Osain. These are herbs for Osain. And these are the properties of the acheses and this and that. It would have been so incredible. Ocha, we don't have that. Ifá talade. Ifá wears the crown. Ifá has that. Cuban Ifá has that. Tata Gaitan, he wrote the shit down. Ramon Febles, he wrote the shit down. And if it were not for people like Lydia Cabrera, like Pierre Verger, like John Mason, like Willie Ramos, they did their research back in the 80s. And they spoke to the people that were hanging out in the 50s. Lydia Cabrera, she spoke to the people that lived and knew people like Fermina Gomez and whatnot. There's another big one. I can't remember his name. Bernard, I don't know. But basically, the ethnographers that existed, if it were not for people like them to simply interview the people while they were alive, we wouldn't have the information that we do. But how much more would it have been if the founders themselves had taken it upon themselves to write the shit down? Now we got so much bullshit that occurs, so much watered down stuff that occurs. Man, a book like that would have been priceless today. If something like that were ever found, that'd be it. That would be it. But at least within Ifá, we have a lot of information of Tata Gaitan and Ramon Febles, who knew personally the founders of Cuban Ifá. And that is one of the advantages of being initiated into Ifá today. Because let's say you pass through Ifá, and if you're fluent in Spanish, then you can go out and purchase Dice Ifá by Tata Gaitan, by Ramon Febles, and you can see the prayers for everything, and you can see how things were spelled back then. That's priceless in my book. I wish that Efuche had the same thing. I wish Aurora Lamar. Huh. I wish she had written shit down. Nobody wrote shit down. I don't know. People didn't think it was necessary. People didn't think it was a big deal. I just got it. Just oral tradition. Just learn the old-fashioned way. It was a different way of thinking. For some reason, the Babalaos, they thought of that shit. And they said, we got to write shit down so that the tradition doesn't go to shit. But when it comes to Ocha, nobody wrote shit down until everybody was dead. And the ones that knew, like Nicholas Angarica, he knew Obadimei. And he learned from Obadimei. But the one who really, really knew, Tomás Romero, what was his name? A very, very famous Obaoriate. He was what's called a ciencia. He was a science. That's a Spanish term, a Cuban term where when esa persona, ese hombre era una ciencia. He was a science. He was like basically a genius. Tomás Romero, the true protege of Obadimei, he didn't write down shit. These people, Polo, Apolinar Gonzalez, Ochaweye, he didn't write down shit. All the Obaoriateses that learned with the people from the 50s and knew Aurora Lamar personally. How incredible. None of them thought, yo, let me write down. I'm a young learning santero. I'm going to write down everything that my Malina, Aurora Lamar, is teaching me. Ain't nobody wrote down shit. But when it comes to Ifá, they wrote down almost everything. So that's one of the advantages and one of the beauties of Cuban Ifá. So, Urumila, Talade, Ifá Talade, Ache Urumila Iburu, Ache Urumila Iboya, Ache Urumila Iboshi, Sheifa Talade. Let me know what you want to see or hear in the next video. El Conquistador, over and out. Peace out.